The new dungeon, Ghosts of the Deep, dropped today, and when you know it, on my first run, I got the exclusive dungeon exotic, the Navigator. And side note, if you've been following me for a while, I have like an unmatched exotic streak on day one dungeon in raid exotics. And one day that luck's gonna run out, but not today. The Navigator is a strand trace rifle that does a couple cool things. It does have a catalyst. I don't have the details on how to obtain the catalyst that's out there, but the catalyst states there's a special reload and then fire to create a grapple tangle at the targeted point. And that sounds really good. A free tangle point without using a grapple charge to freely use that point with the grapple melee. The exotic intrinsic trait is Protective Weave. Firing this weapon at an ally grants you and them woven mail. First of all, the sight is open, it's clean, very different than other trace rifles. Of course, it comes with that trademark 100 aim assist. It has 100 recoil direction, 75 stability, 86 range. But when you tag an ally in PvE, it takes 6 shots. Once that happens, you and the ally get woven mail. But 5 shots get returned. It's going to be best to tap fire them similar like you would with a divinity bubble. In theory, at most, you're going to lose a round. So it's technically just free woven mail for you and an ally. As you can tell out of the gate, this is a support exotic. It's got some pairing things I'll talk about as we go. Now in the Crucible, it takes 4 shots to proc woven mail for you and your ally, and there it also gives 5 back. So you can loop it. Make sure you land all your shots, div tap them. Pretty wild. Again, imagine your teammates are on other subs, or they have an exotics that give DR. In PvE, while woven mail is active, 40% DR for you and your teammates. But what's really interesting here, this is a strand trace rifle granting woven mail. If you or your allies are on strand, any fragment, of course, that has woven mail tied into it will work. And remember, 40% DR that you can just give out as a support exotic is tied to the resilience level that the character has, which then can be tied to a number of other things. Again, let's say your teammate is an Arc Warlock with the Stag. In theory, they're going to have damage resist from the resilience. They're going to have damage resist from their mods on their chest piece. They're going to have damage resist from the fragment for Arc. They're going to have damage resistance from the Stag. And who knows, maybe they're running the Manticore or a Glaive. There's a lot of stacking that can go on because you're able to freely give woven mail. And this can come up. There's probably some great combinations. We're in the early hours of this exotic coming out. But to me, stacking DR with other subclasses is going to be interesting. The exotic trait, Weft Cutter, dealing sustained damage severs the target. Their outgoing damage is significantly reduced. Severed targets unwind to a tangle when defeated. So dealing sustained damage, it takes 20 hits to sever the target. Once severed, the enemy's damage output is less, but also hidden, not stated. When you proc sever, you proc woven mail for yourself. At that point, you're in a situation where they're doing less damage, you're receiving less damage. The base fight takes a swing in opposite directions. They're dealing less, and you're taking even less. And this trace rifle works as a standalone with the artifact mod that we have this season. It kind of feels like these mods were set up for this trace a little bit. Improved unraveling, so increases the amount of damage dealt by unravel to a target. In Strand Soldier, your strand weapons gain unraveling rounds when you gain woven mail on a strand subclass. So you're going to be gaining woven mail, gaining unravel rounds, and then have increased damage to those unravel rounds. Do that by severing a target by yourself, tagging an ally, maybe on the kit, getting woven mail, and you're going to be combining all this with the catalyst that gives a free grapple point. You have a lot of play on strand. And though it does work on any subclass out of the gate, strand does look the best, but that doesn't mean you yourself can't be on Arc with resistant fragments and different exotics that give DR, because you can. Maybe a Rhyme Titan, or just in general stasis DR. Maybe you can sever them, and a Hunter Bro teammate can throw a Renewal Grasp Dust Field. That's 2 sources of reduced damage on a target. There's a ton of interactions with this thing, and like I said, we're only a couple hours into it. As I'm playing controller players, I do have issues for you. I don't think the issues are going to go away. They can't go away. I have some PvP gameplay to show this happening there, but with your allies, your aim assist and friction is tied to them as well. This thing has 100 aim assist, good range. All the enemies on your screen and your allies are going to give you reticle friction slowdown everywhere. I've been shooting at ads. A friendly jumps near my reticle. It just takes off of my target and onto them. Might as well give them woven mail, right? Doesn't feel good, but like I said again, what can they change? You need to be able to reliably hit your allies and give them woven mail at a distance. So a heads up to the controller crowd, this thing is very sticky to everything in sight. With your characters on Hunter, you have the Pseudarachne's Facade, gain woven mail when grappling, and flinch resist. You're going to be living in woven mail with that flinch resist. But let's say you get with Assassin's Cowl, Caliban's Hand on Solar, or Revenant. On a target, you can continuously shoot them, sever them, give yourself woven mail, throw down a glacier grenade and give yourself that DR, and the end result is that they're barely touching you. So keep all of this in mind. You aren't tied to Strand. Now, the Warlock has a new helmet. I don't have it. I'm going to review it later, and when I do review it, this trace is going to be included. Trace rifles reload a portion of their equipped mag from reserves. Damaging a boss with a trace, matching your subclass, marks them as a priority target. If an ally delivers the final blow to that priority target, heavy ammo spawns on them. So at first I was thinking Divinity. That's the play, and it is. But with this, like a new challenger approaches, because on Strand, the Strand lock, which is extremely good, with your sustained damage, you're going to sever them. You're going to get woven mail. You can give woven mail to a teammate. Mark them to give heavy ammo to your team. Like, it just works. And it looks like it's going to work well. On Titan, there's the leaps. Or just anything tied to DR. And I think what this is going to come down to is your patience. Because, let's be real, you're not mowing anything down with this thing. You're not. You're doing a little bit better with the artifact mods, giving you that super unravel. But when push comes to shove, this is a survivability exotic, a support exotic. Making sure you tag your allies. Giving woven mail to them, giving it to you, using your abilities with the Strand kit with this thing. Because when you do take all those little things, the exotics you can pair, other subclasses, teamwork strats, different DR tiers, different sever tiers, like adding in sever with renewal grasps, lessening the outgoing damage to targets. Very interesting. I like it. And I can't wait to see some of those combinations come together with what people find. I took it to the Crucible. First game, got on a little 10 streak, but let's remember, they buff Trace rifles as far as the feel and the feedback. They're literal beams, so at base, it's fine. It can duel. Then you start pairing in woven mail with your dueling. A lot better. I was just following teammates around, tapping them with 4 shots, or the best I could at least, and just run with them. It's kind of fun. And really, that's what PvP is going to be all about. Trying to play support, running around, giving people woven mail. And that catalyst, creating a grapple point, is really going to help the Strand subclass. Because I personally believe that the Strand melee, the free melee from a grapple, is one of the coolest things in the game because it's just totally free and it pairs with other exotics. Like if you hit them with a necrotic grip, it takes on all the qualities of the exotic that you have. Definitely not a world beater. It's just a basic trace rifle, but you have a lot of utility with it. So in conclusion, I played with it a little bit. I want to play with it a lot more, especially when I get that Warlock helmet. But at this point, we know what the basic function does. I think it's really going to be about combinations and pairing it with things. Different subclasses, different exotics. That includes you and your fire team. We'll see what happens once the artifact stuff goes away, but as it is currently, it's probably the best version it could be because you're getting the super unravel. And a big reminder, it's not really a damage dealer. It's going to do fine because of the artifact. We'll see once that goes away. Not really a damage dealer. It's more so a high uptime on some pretty powerful things in the game as far as DR. Same deal as Divinity. It's used for a very specific purpose and you have a job with it. That's kind of what this trace is. I think that they did a good job with it. It's very unique and there's a ton of cool things you could do with it. It's going to be up to you to play that play style and find some interactions. If you're new here, remember to hit the subscribe button, and if you are subscribed, thank you so much for your support. Let's talk about the Navigator down below, and also what you thought of the dungeon if you played it. Thank you for watching, and until the next one, I'm CoolGuy.